Just tired. Because that, that's a lot of what happens. People say, well, I have a headache, and my muscles are really tight. That's just a way our body feels stress. It's going to also maybe start impacting what you do, right? So if you don't feel like doing something, you're probably not doing it. And some of those things that you stop doing are probably the very things that are going to help you stay positive or keep you going, keep you motivated. Those very things. And in some cases, when you're feeling, again, those negative emotions, stressed, fearful, if it gets bad, you stop doing what you need to take care of yourself. Maybe you don't take your medications. Maybe you're not making that heart-healthy dinner that you know would be better for you. You don't feel like going to the store, so you're just going to go grab something from the restaurant. It can affect you that way. When you're stressed and overwhelmed, you just can't be bothered. You don't want to do it. And unfortunately, I've seen quite a few people not take their medications because they just are tired of it. They just can't be bothered. It reminds them that they're sick. And what happens? They end up in the hospital. Okay, I've seen this with, ICD patients. You've got sometimes some important antiarrhythmic medications. I've seen it with heart transplant patients. They don't take those immunosuppressants. Not good. Patients with ventricular assist devices, they need to be taking, medication so their blood doesn't clog up and clog that pump that's helping them go. It can be a bad thing. It's not just not taking a multivitamin. There can be some pretty negative effects. You might not be sleeping well. So it affects being fearful, being stressed, being anxious. It affects all areas. It affects your body, it affects how you think, and it affects what you do. So, if you notice any of those things in yourself, please let someone know so they can help you. And don't avoid what you're fearful of, because again, like I said, those things that you stop doing are usually the very things that are going to, keep you going. And when you avoid things, it just makes that anxiety grow, because there's nothing to tell you otherwise. This is the ode to the caregivers. Are there other caregivers here in this room? Yeah, they're to not be forgotten. Sometimes it's the caregivers who actually feel more of the stress than the patient themselves, worrying about the other person, taking care of them, forgetting to take care of themselves, all those good things. And if you are a lucky caregiver that has actually maybe seen one of these events, seen your loved one have the heart attack or the arrest, or any other scary episode, you might be the one that remembers it and the patient doesn't, and you're fearful of that. So, caregivers also need to take care of themselves, and whether it's seeking out support in their own circle or professionally would be good. All right, so I like to speak of positive things, and like I said, many of you have very positive stories and can be very inspiring. What brings resiliency? What is resiliency? It's all of that that's in you that's allowing you to bounce back, to keep moving forward. I'm sure many of you are like that here. But it doesn't mean that you do this without difficulty or without struggle. It's still a process. And so what I want to talk about really is how do you get there? How do you turn that process into being resilient, surviving, living, participating? Well, first you have to have awareness of what's going on with you, right? You have to know what you're You have to know what you're feeling. You have to know what that experience is for yourself. You're one of those people that just puts a smile on your face and says, I'm fine. I'm fine. And you say it so much, or you're trying to convince others that you're fine. You're trying to convince yourself that you're fine. You might be missing a lot of stuff. Okay? I'm not one to say you have to sit and, sit in that pit of whatever it is and just be there with it, but you have to acknowledge that it's there. Because if you don't acknowledge that it's there, it can do some not so good things for your health and your heart and your family and your loved ones. So awareness, acceptance. Acceptance, I'll talk a little bit more. Doesn't mean you're okay with it, but that you are allowing it to be part of you. Okay? You will start to kind of maybe renegotiate this identity. Like I said at the beginning, you didn't form your game plan for life and say, I'm going to grow up and be a patient who has a device. I'm going to grow up and have heart disease. But now that you have it, it doesn't mean that's who you are, but it's part of who you are. And then it always comes back to pursuing that, again, going back to that game plan. What are those values that you have for yourself? What is that pursuit that you have, and how do you do that with where you are? All right. So I'm telling you, you have to be aware of your thoughts and your feelings and where you are in that experience. This, key word of being mindful. I don't know if you hear it a lot. I hear it in my world a lot. Be mindful. What does that mean? Be mindful. Who is constantly thinking maybe like, what do they have to do next? What's their next task? What do they have to accomplish today? That's not mindful. That's thinking in the future. All right? Who sits and thinks like, oh gosh, I could have done this, or I should have done that, or I didn't accomplish that, or gosh, yesterday was a lovely day. That's in the past. What about the here and the now? Who is paying attention to how that chair feels underneath them? That would be a simple thing of being mindful, being present in the moment, being aware of where you are. You open, you probably weren't outside very much today because I guess it hit 105. But that would be maybe looking in your backyard and you're seeing the lovely grass in the garden. And I'm just going to paint a fake scene for you. You've got a 5-year-old kid with you. And you look at the yard and you say, gosh, the grass needs to be mowed. There's weeds over there in the corner. And this 5-year-old kid just comes and just starts playing in the grass and feels the grass blades tickling his toes. Sounds like a nice little kid. The kid's being mindful. You're not. You're looking at what needs to get done. It's taking away from that present experience. All right. And again, it's facing, let's going back to my theme of running, is being mindful is running towards that experience, feeling that experience. All right, acceptance. I saw a couple eyes bug out when I said acceptance. That is not saying, hey, I like this, hey, I approve of this, hey, I want this, but it's saying, hey, this is what I have, this is who I am. It's rolling with the punches, right? It's a rainy day. Do you stop doing what you're doing, or do you take an umbrella with you? You modify things, right? And again, it's allowing you to be so. It's allowing you to feel fear. It's allowing you to feel stress. It's allowing you to feel all these things or do these things, and just saying, you know what? I'm scared to do this. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take my fear with me. Instead of waiting to say, I'll do this when I'm not scared anymore. What do you think about that? Fear is going to come with me. And the fear is going to come with you to do the things that you want to do, the things that are that you have deemed give you purpose and value in your life, right? And then you can make goals that go underneath that, that you're pursuing what you want. So what you wanted to do pre-ICD, pre-cardiac event. So I've got Alberto Salazar pictures here. Anyone know who that is? Marathoner, awesome marathoner, Olympic champion. He is now the coach for many Olympic athletes actually right now in this games.
One got a gold, one got a silver.
Absolutely. So he is a star himself. Epitome of health, physical fitness. He had cardiac arrest. Yep, he did. He had a couple stents, I think. Yeah. So he had both. He had the electrical problems. He had the plumbing problems. Can he run anymore?
Probably.
Absolutely. Is he going to be winning any medals himself?
No.
Maybe not. But he does run, and this is, take away the bias. He does run in the Medtronic Marathon and trains. He trains ICD folks to run that marathon. And so he's an example. I bring him up here because he has redefined his life. Okay, he is now coaching athletes. He's now coaching runners. He has now drawn closer to his family. He's renegotiated his priorities. He doesn't always go to his runners' meets. He'll choose his daughter's recital, right? He's doing a lot of things differently, but he's still pursuing the values that he loves. He is still training folks. He is still, teaching people his love for running. He's just not out there doing it in the way he once was. And yes, he is still running. So he's a great example. The other thing, I bring up the serenity prayer because the next thing I'm going to talk about is control. Who likes to have control of things? Do you feel in control if you're worried about a shot? There's a lot of things you can't control, and that's part of the scariness. Anxiety comes from uncertainty, and you never quite know what's going to happen, or that's the feeling that you carry with it. And so the good old serenity prayer that most people is grant me the courage to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it's always that last one that's sometimes hard. But what can you always control? You can always control how you respond to things. You might not be able to control other people. Trust me, you can't. But you can always control how you respond to things, how you think about things. And you definitely cannot control what your heart does, right? You have a device for a reason. Your heart has this susceptibility, this risk for an arrhythmia. And trying to control things then kind of is in the face of acceptance, right? It's struggling. You're fighting it. I'm a big fan of being prepared, of being planned, and Helga's going to start laughing at me now. But planning and preparing is very different than worrying. You guys see that? So you can make your plans, you can make your preparations, you can tell your caregivers what to do X, Y, and Z if A, B, or C happens to me. And you're going to know what you're going to do in a variety of situations. You're never going to come up with every scenario, but you're going to be as as planned and prepared as you can be. And that will hopefully take away some of that fear and anxiety. But then you put it aside, right? There's no point in worrying, because what's worry going to do? Does worry make things better? I don't think I'll find anyone that says worrying makes things better.